Well, hello. I just wanted to do a quick video, mainly more to vent than anything. Doing some research actually in a couple different books, actually about 4 different books. So I'm doing some generic research, mainly on weapons, tactics, trying to find some references for a few other projects I'm working on. And I came across some glaring, crazy inaccuracies in one of these books. I don't know if you can guess which one yet. I've already ranted on this book in past episodes or past, I guess, posts. But it got me thinking, like, how do you judge someone, judge a book or judge a academic research project or a book in general that is authentic or is accurate, is actually true to what the research is? You can look at the bibliography, you can look at what they cite, you can look at the facts that they bring out. Do other scholars agree with what they're saying or not? And what started, I knew there was inaccuracies, but then in this other book. And then, of course, I read another section that they got the actual capital of one of our states wrong. Out of the 50 states, they said that another city was a capital of a state that it wasn't. How do you get that wrong? And so, of course, there's in one chapter that I'm aware of, there was about 10 to 12 different blatant falsehoods. And it got me thinking, like, how do you judge the truth of academic book or a historical book? How do you know what you're reading is correct? Because, especially to the hobby historian, someone who's not going to do primary research, but say secondary and tertiary research, how do you determine if something is actually true or not? And, for me, it was, I look at the bibliography and became glaring to me that, and now there's a whole bunch of different ways of doing this, but one of the things, the quick way, this is like item number 4 that I do. One of the ways that I like to judge whether someone or a book or a research article is actually legit, is actually maybe something I can trust, is looking at the references, and not just the references, but how they reference. So for instance, I'm going to show you, there's this book right here, Guarding the Overland Trails, that when you actually read through the book, there are references. I don't know if you can see that right there. There's references at the bottom of the page that, show what they cited. Again, almost every page has citations in there. And then going to another book, one of Whitaker, one of my favorite books, Eric Whitten. I always say Whitaker because, cavalry. Eric Wittenberg's book of Buford at Gettysburg. Again, just look at that page right there. I opened to this page, and almost half of each page has citations, okay? And every major point they have, again, just kind of looking through the book here, every major point they bring out, like, hey, did you know Hill went over here to this area and he had two brigades with him? They actually cite that in where they got that information. One of my other favorites for local history is Frontier Crossroads, the history of Fort Caspar and the Upper Platte Crossing right there by McDermott. And again, you turn to one of his pages and he has multiple citations. I don't know if you guys can see that right there. But multiple he barely goes a paragraph without 2 or 3 citations. Now this one does it a bit different. He actually has numbers, and in the back of the book, you have to go to the back of the book to reference the numbers. But still, throughout the book, there are hundreds of primary resources. And then let's get to my favorite /sarcasm. This book right here, The Heart of Everything That Is. I don't know a whole, I've read this book to actually learn some about Native American culture, but the one chapter I actually did know a lot about, which is Platte Bridge Station, which is where the 11th Ohio was stationed. 12 inaccuracies in 3 pages. And if you take a look, now they have a long bibliography, don't get me wrong, but they don't cite as much they go pages without an actual citation. Now, granted, if you actually look at their bibliography in the back, they actually have close to 30 pages, 25, 22, almost 30 pages of resource materials. But again, the vast majority of that are secondary, basically other books. They're not necessarily, again, good portion of them are primaries. primary resources, but a lot of them, the other half, are actual just secondary, tertiary, quaternary type sources. And so that got me thinking of like, how is this book have so many inaccuracies? And for the layperson, like, how would you know that? How would you know that, again, if I didn't know that one chapter, for me, that put everything else into, a question, like, how do I trust everything else? And it got me thinking, like, how do you trust books? Like, how do you know that what people are writing as academic research, something that you actually can trust? And comment below. Let me know what you guys think. Got me thinking, got me irritated, obviously, about these complete, I don't want to call them lies, but just inaccuracies. I mean, it kind of hit the point where they actually misnamed the capital of a state. I mean, that's pretty bad. There's only 50 of them, and half of a little less than half of those weren't even states at the time that this book was, at the time frame, the period of this, what the subject of this book is about. So it's kind of interesting. But for me, one of the things, like I said, one of the things I like to do is I like to look at how many primary references do they have? Like, for instance, let's say their bibliography has 80, 90, 100, 200 different citations. Is the vast majority of that secondary, tertiary, other scholars who quote other scholars who quote other scholars, kind of going back to the whole train the trainer requirement of who trained the first trainer to train the trainer. Circular logic, right? Same thing. If you just keep quoting other books who quote other books who quote other books, is that information actually accurate, right? So this is why I like Frontier Crossroads as that book. It's an awesome book. A lot of primary references. Again, Eric's book on Buford at Gettysburg. A lot of primary references, a lot of cool primary references. In fact, I want to go to the National Archives and pull some of what he actually looked into. And then, of course, for instance, Guarding the Overland Trails. This is the history of the 11th OVC, pretty much the whole regimental history, if you want to call it that, of the 11th OVC is this book right here. And you can't go more than a couple sentences, at the most a paragraph, without having something cited. And so, for me, that's how I determine if something is actually trustable, I guess, if you will, trustable or citable, or something that you could actually go off of. Is, do they cite, like, every major fact that they're trying to say in a paragraph or in a page or even a chapter, if one of their primary points is, whatever their primary point is, if they have multiple references to back that, then okay, I'll buy that, especially if they can't even go a paragraph or sometimes even a sentence without citing a source. I like that, especially if the source is a primary source, like something from the National Archives, something that's actually a scanned, original document or an original letter from, was Eric, one of Eric's other books, I think, East Cavalry Field, talking about he published a book, and then later he found a letter from Custer, actually his Custer's report, and then he amended his second publishing of that book. So because that's a primary reference. So anyways, just want to throw that out there. Comment below. What do you guys think about, like, how do you determine if a book is actually a good scholarly piece of research, or just something that's a hunk of crap, or let me not say that, something is entertaining. Let me say entertaining to read, good, fun, set in a historical background. Are we talking academic research, or are we talking something more like Killer Angels, set in Gettysburg, where the vast majority of it is based in history, but still technically a fiction. Or a work of fiction. So anyways, throw that out there, and we have to be careful. The idea of mixing fiction books that are very well written in historical context as fact. There's still a lot of people who, use Gods and Generals or Gettysburg or even the book Killer Angels as a historical book, when it's unfortunately not. So yeah, comment below. Tell me what you guys think. Am I blowing smoke? Am I going off on a tangent? Or let me know. I just got hot and wanted to talk to you guys. So I'm curious to see what you guys think. Let me know. That was supposed to be a couple minutes long, and it's 9:40, basically 10 minutes long. Thank you guys. Have a good one. Take care.